Here we go. We have Apple Computer. What we have here is a bloodbath on the NASDAQ composite, and it's called intraday low count. Apple, Google, Priceline, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Some of the ones that we'll be happy to cover in here, once again, we'll go very quickly here. And what we'll be happy to do here is pull in the Apple chart. This is the Apple chart right here, down to $558. It's had a 20% correction. Let's take a look at this Google intraday. We have the Google down here, coming down here to test its 100-day moving average, and a big gap down today. Priceline, which had beat their earnings a couple of days ago. You can see where the Priceline trade was from the earnings gap. It's given a lot of that back up. It's sitting on top of the 100-day moving average. It was a big decliner. Let's go into EQIX. EQIX, a big bellwether that has been just crushed the last 4 days. Big down move on the intraday lows. Amazon.com. We can see that Amazon.com had put in these highs over here during their earnings up here, but you can see right here that the intraday process that Amazon.com sold down as well. Some of the other names, such as the TQQ, which is a bull, has sold completely down to all-time lows. Now, having said that, there is a lot of activity going on. Now, that's the intraday low count. That means that the advanced decline line, decliners outpacing advancers by a wide margin. One of the things that we'll be looking at is there are other names in here that have been making all-time lows. One of the other ones that we like is the CMG, which had a series of upgrades from their earnings that gapped down. We got about the same $50 move as we did in the last quarter. Once again, it too has sold down. So basically, there are lots of stocks that are making the intraday lows. There are lots of stocks that are making near 52-week lows that were already weak, such as Decker, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And bellwether IBM is in here. There's lots of stocks in here that are near their 52-week lows. And there are stocks that have put in new 52-week lows. And the list is very long in the NASDAQ composite. And this is the NASDAQ composite on the intraday low count. Okay? The biggest ones that we trade, you have Sears Holdings in here, some of the retail. Sector by sector, though, it's been a mess. And the actual conclusion is NASDAQ composite down 74 handles. Dow down 312, S&P down 33. You're below the 1400 level. And we have all the live videos for the morning intraday. And once again, there is a big fiscal cliff. That's a problem, along with the election. And some of Europe has to play in there as well. There will be quality companies that we'll look for in bull scenario cases. I will tell people, though, that here is the $14.60 move. We made a series of 136 lows on Google. We made 826 lows here on Apple. On Priceline and some of the other stocks, their lows are not nearly as much. LinkedIn, which did a great earnings report down here, made a series of 135 lows. So it was selling across the board in the NASDAQ composite. Once again, I have clearly showed all of the MMTs that there are big problems that may or may not be addressed, but let's take a look at the bull case. After you sell down, if Mr. Obama comes out and meets the Republicans, does the tax base right, there are lots of things that could be done that could avoid all of this, and it would be a great buying opportunity when the new president in his second four-year term has a chance to come across to the other side of the aisle, pull the Republicans over and say, okay, here, let's do this then. That would be a great way to start out a new four-year elect. The last 4 years were not that great with him, but the public elected him again. And we hope that for citizens and small businesses and large institutions and the banking sector and the home builders and just everything involved is that we can come to a conclusion on what cuts need to be made. But when it comes down to the taxes, Mr. Bonner, House Republican Speaker, was very clear. We're willing to meet you halfway. And the compromises need to be done. And it doesn't need to be I'm a Republican and I'm a Democrat. No. What it has to be is it got to separate what parties are in and take a look at how this affects you and your bottom line moving forward.